Hey. Now then, shall we get started? Deadpool and Wolverine, the 34th MCU film, or Marvel Cinematic Universe, the 4th film in Marvel's Phase 5 of the MCU, and the 3rd Deadpool film overall, in the overall Deadpool trilogy that started with 2016's Deadpool and continued with 2018's Deadpool 2. This was a film that I think many Marvel fans were excited about for a while, especially given the fact that it was introducing Deadpool into the Marvel Cinematic Universe following Disney's buyout of 20th Century Fox. It was due to bring back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and it seemed to be setting up for a good time. Now, when they announced with the kind of scene parodying Ferris Bueller's Day Off at the end of the first Deadpool film that the second film was going to involve Cable, everyone was excited for that. And when we reached the end of Deadpool 2 and they showed a scene kind of recreating the scene from X-Men Origins Wolverine with Deadpool killing his alternate self and then telling Wolverine that one day he was going to hang up the claws and that one day his old friend Wade was going to come and just say yes. I'll be honest, upon seeing that I was like, yeah, that would be cool if they did do that, but I can't really see them doing it. I mean, Hugh Jackman's hanging up the claws now, so it's probably just a thing we'll have to kind of just hope in our minds. But then, in 2022, of course, they dropped the teaser trailer for Deadpool 3. It was announced that Deadpool was going to be entering the MCU. And then there's, of course, the famous trailer of he admitting that he's got nothing. But they did have one idea. Hugh Jackman passes through the back shot. Hey, Hugh, want to play Wolverine one more time? Yeah, sure, Ryan. Just everyone, I think, lost their minds at this point. So I'm going to have to go into spoilers for this particular film because it's impossible to talk about the rest of it without going into spoilers. But anyway, following Deadpool's kind of big use of Cable's time machine at the end of the previous Deadpool film, he ends up traveling across kind of time and space, and time, and ends up resurrecting a load of his friends from the previous film. But also, at the end of it all, he ends up traveling to Earth 616, where he has an interview with Happy Hogan, played once again by Jon Favreau, trying to apply for a position on the Avengers team. However, Hogan ends up turning him down because when he asks why he wants to join the Avengers team, Wade Wilson simply states, I need to do it for myself. I need to make something in my life, to which Happy points out to him, the Avengers don't do these things for themselves. They do it to help other people. And we appreciate your candor, but we can't do it right now. And this eventually leads to Wade falling into a bit of a depression, which leads to a breakup with his girlfriend Vanessa Carlyle, played once again by Morena Baccarin, and him ultimately getting a job as a used car salesman alongside his friend Peter Wisdom, played once again by Rob Delaney, who was introduced in the previous film, to which I think everyone kind of likes Peter as a character. I mean, he joined X-Force even though he has no marketable powers. To have him on the team, it's kind of cool. However, his friends do end up throwing him a birthday party, and afterwards, Wade ends up being intercepted by agents from the Time Variance Authority, also known as the TVA. Now, like with Multiverse of Madness and WandaVision, I personally have not seen the series Loki, but once again, I wasn't necessarily slowed down by it. I knew enough about the series in order to be able to keep up, so it was nice to have it in there, and nice to connect to the rest of the MCU. To which they bring in Wade to tell him that they're prepared to offer him a position a new position on Earth 616, like the main MCU timeline, as what they called the Sacred Timeline. To which Wade is happy enough with this until they tell him that he's going to have to leave everyone he loves behind, because his normal timeline, 10,005, is due to die. Like, it's been decaying for a while now, ever since the death of their anchor being, that being Logan, due to his death at the end of Logan. To which, first of all, Wade tries using TVA technology, wants to dig up Wolverine to try and prove he's not dead, even though he clearly is, which does lead to a pretty fun kind of fight sequence between him and the TVA officers early on to InSync's Bye Bye Bye, which I can't complain about that. And after that fails, he ends up travelling across several different versions of universes trying to find a new anchor being, a new Logan to set his universe back to rights, including one that's height accurate to the comics, one with an eye patch, and even one played by Henry Cavill, which, I don't know, I admit that's funny as well. He eventually does manage to find one who fits the bill, only to be told that by the head of this particular branch of the TVA, Mr. Paradox, played by Matthew McFadden, that this version of Wolverine is the worst version he could have chosen. This version let down his entire world, his entire team, which eventually leads to both Wade and Logan, played once again by Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, being banished to the Void, seemingly a place that's very kind of Mad Max, where a lot of abandoned properties and pruned characters from other Marvel comics have ended up, to which they have to deal with really two villains. One is, of course, trying to get back to the TVA in order to get back to their own universe and defeat Mr. Paradox, played by Matthew McFadden. The other thing they have to deal with is the leader of the kind of tangents of this world is a woman named Cassandra Nova, played by Emma Corrin. And they have to kind of defeat her. She's the aborted twin sister of Charles Xavier, and she wants to kind of maintain power in this void-like world, to which she has in her kind of employment a lot of former Marvel characters who have been mostly X-Men villains, including the likes of Bullseye, Pyro, Toad, Psylocke, Sabretooth, Juggernaut, Blob, Azazel, and Lady Deathstrike. To which it is kind of cool to see some of these characters from previous MCU films. Some of them are not played by the same actors. For example, I do remember seeing Juggernaut and thinking to myself, that's not Vinnie Jones. Apparently they did ask him if he'd be willing to come back, and he said, no, I can't deal with putting on the costume anymore. Like, once you get in the costume, you have to drink through a straw, and just no. And apparently they did try to get Nicolas Cage back as Ghost Rider, but he said no. So, while on their adventure together, Wade tries to kind of bond with Logan, played once again by Hugh Jackman, and things obviously don't go to plan. But they do end up discovering another group of heroes who have been banished to the Void and have to kind of team up with them in order to stop Cassandra Nova, including a version of Human Torch, played once again by Chris Evans from the 2005 and 2007 Fantastic Four films, a Elektra Nachos, played once again by Jennifer Garner from the 2003 Daredevil film, Wesley Snipes' Blade, Channing Tatum finally as Remy LeBeau, aka Gambit, who I think appeared in X-Men Origins Wolverine, but I'm not sure, I didn't see that film, and of course Logan's daughter X-23, also known as Laura, played once again by Daphne Keane. And it's up to them to find a way to escape from the Void, make their way back to Earth 10,005, and stop Mr. Paradox from pruning their universe forever. Now, ultimately, if you ask me which of the Deadpool films is actually my favourite, I personally would say either 1 or 2, because I think possibly 1 leans a bit more to me, but why isn't this one my favourite? Well, I'm not entirely sure. Because this one, for me, the thing about the previous 2 X-Men Deadpool films was that they were notoriously cheap to make. Like, they weren't massively expensive. I mean, even they would often comment on that in the films. Like, one of my favourite bits of the first film is when he comes to get Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead from the X-Mansion. Says to him, "It's a big house. It's weird that you only ever see two of you." It's almost like Studio couldn't afford another X-Man. Whereas with this film, since they'd been bought out by Disney, while it's still a small budget, it's definitely bigger than the ones they've had before. And so with a lot of the characters that they brought in, they're fine. It's nice to see them, but just, I don't know, it just kind of feels like they're more of a budget, and therefore it's not quite as impressive when they do something kind of big or grand, whereas you're kind of just expecting that now, and to just have that in there, it just doesn't feel the same. Also, while I admit it is cool to see some of the kind of characters they bring back, like, as I said, Johnny Storm, X-23, Elektra, Blade, Remy LeBeau, and of course all of the X-Men lot, I do feel like the original kind of ensemble cast that they got for the first two Deadpool films, I kind of feel like they get a little bit sidelined. I mean, the only one who I do legitimately feel got a good amount of screen time was Rob Delaney's Peter. But by the end of it, I was left thinking to myself, I could have had another scene with Vanessa, with Blind Owl, played by Leslie Uggams. I could have had another one with Dopinder or Colossus. I mean, Yukio and Shatterstar, played by Karen Sony and Louis Tan, I could deal with them not having a huge amount of screen time because, well, we only had one film with them. But with the others, even Brianna Hildebrand, I would have liked to have seen Negasonic Teenage Warhead more in this film. I just kind of feel like that you had a good ensemble cast, and I just don't feel like they were utilised quite enough. But to be honest, if those are my biggest complaints about this film, I can live with that, because this film is still a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, my favourite scene overall, I think, I didn't have it on my bingo. I knew that there were going to be fight scenes, especially between Deadpool and Wolverine themselves. I mean, two polar opposite characters, you're going to have them fight each other. I did not have it on my bingo card of them fighting each other in a family sedan in the middle of the woods to Grease's "You're the One That I Want." That to me happened, and I was just laughing. I love that scene. But then, of course, there's a kind of big scene of them fighting various Deadpool variants to Like a Prayer by Madonna, and Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, finally wearing the yellow outfit with the cowl. Just when he pulled it down, I was like, you keep the good stuff for special occasions? Killing, mostly. Just, I love that scene. And overall, the way the film ends, it is an MCU film. It is part of the MCU's kind of storyline, but we haven't seen them fully interact with other heroes, except we do get the kind of running joke of Deadpool kind of wondering what's going to happen between him and Thor, which, given Deadpool's pan nature, I can kind of understand that, but I don't know, it would have been cool to see him also interact with other Marvel heroes, to which maybe we'll get that when the other big films come down the line. Like, maybe we'll see him pop up briefly in Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars. That'll be cool to see. But overall for me, I'd say Deadpool and Wolverine, it's a fun film. It's not my favourite of the Deadpool films, but you know what? They finally brought Deadpool and Wolverine into the MCU. They brought back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. What more can you really want from that? So, yeah. I'd say this isn't my favourite Deadpool film, but you know what? They brought him into the MCU, and they made it a pretty fun time. So if you want a good time with an MCU movie, you don't mind a little bit of foul language, definitely check out Deadpool and Wolverine. Anyway, until next time, see ya.